Well, perhaps you've heard that it's dangerous to go alone, but I haven't had anybody join me for this book club yet. So we are uh, are gonna see if we can keep the lights on just a little bit longer to see if we can get anybody else to hop in here. Unlike our Monday night live streams, this one I prefer to have people come in through the Discord server. You should be able to find a fresh link to that, and you can find the StreamYard in here. And there was a couple of folks that I thought were going to join us for this one, but they aren't here yet. So we'll see if we do this. We're going through whatever Flannery O'Connor short story that happens to tickle my fancy this month. And I think Chris recommended Everything That Rises Must Converge. And I'll be honest, I've always just loved the title of that short story. And apparently, Miss O'Connor loved it too, because she gave an entire collection of short stories that title. It's her second collection of short stories is all entitled Everything That Rises Must Converge there. And I just think that that title is interesting to begin with, on account of the fact that we don't normally think that way. And if you've been speaking English long enough, you've probably heard somebody say, "Yeah, everything that rises must also come down," and that's what people are accustomed to hearing. And so I think Miss O'Connor was playing around with the language there and with our expectations around that saying. And if you think of, the world as being a bunch of individuals on the surface of a sphere, then this title doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How is it that everything that rises must converge? The vast expanses of outer space all radiate out infinitely from our little center ball here. The idea that anything moving out from the center of the Earth would converge is the exact opposite of what you would expect. But Miss O'Connor doesn't really care about our expectations. In fact, she takes a certain wry delight, I think, in subverting them. So let's imagine that we didn't live in on the surface of a ball with the cold, infinite recesses of space expanding out infinitely from there. Let's imagine instead that we lived in a hierarchy, that we lived in a arrangement of things where there's a top and a bottom, and the farther you go up the hierarchy, the closer you get to other people in that layer of the hierarchy, and the fewer people are occupying each and every single layer. Well, if two people start at the bottom and then start rising their way to the top, then obviously at some point they must converge. And so when we start thinking about this title in terms of hierarchy, it starts making a lot more sense than trying to think about it in a physicalist, materialist way. And so that's a lot of the themes that are being explored by Miss O'Connor in this short story. It is, of course, set in the South during the period of the Civil Rights Movement, because that's where Miss O'Connor lived, and that's when she lived. And so she was giving us commentary on the things that she was observing from her own perspective. And this particular short story follows. It's a little bit reminiscent of The Enduring Chill. I did that on accident because, like I said, I didn't even remember this story when I had selected it. But we're picking up the theme again with overeducated sons who have a difficult relationship with their mothers. And that was very much like The Enduring Chill, which we read a couple of months ago, going off to college and gaining a lot of information and not a lot of wisdom there. So we pick up with that, and this is during the period of integration in the South, where the bus lines are becoming integrated, the school systems are becoming integrated, the restaurants are becoming integrated there, and there's our main character and narrator, right? It's a first told from a first person perspective, is a fellow by the name of Julian. Julian has completed his college education, and he's a rather sour fellow. He's very unhappy about his life in the world. He's quite convinced that he's not going to make it anywhere, and that nothing good is coming to him, that he won't be a success. And he is now, of course, living with his mother, his single mother, who, by his own admission, had sacrificed an awful lot in order to give him the best possible chance in the world, and was quite proud of her college educated son. And Julian's mother is overweight and has high blood pressure. And so the doctor is telling her that she needs to exercise more, and that there's a free class at the Y that will give her an opportunity to exercise. The family apparently used to be wealthy and influential in whatever county of Georgia this story is set. But Julian and his mother did not inherit that wealth or that success. They seem to have fallen on hard times there. But Julian's mother continues to remind Julian, who doesn't want to hear it at all, that if you know who you are, then you can do anything that you want in the world, and that you are required to act in a certain way on account of the last name that you carry there. So we've got this tension, not at all dissimilar to the enduring chill that we had read earlier there. And in order to get to the Y for her weekly exercise class, she has to ride the bus, and she does not want to ride the bus alone at night because of the recent integration of the bus system. Just does not want to do that, and we can tut very easily from here in the 21st century about such things, but that was a shakeup of the way that things were. That was a shakeup of how the world had been operating, and it was a new territory for everybody involved there. And if you've got a somewhat more conservative temperament, then things being new is going to seem threatening to you. So Julian is miserable riding on the bus, doesn't want to be there, but does it anyway. He's got a lot of contempt for his uneducated mother, and he sits there and he has these ugly fantasies about just sticking it to her face for the great crime of giving him birth, of raising and sacrificing for him. So anyway, in case you can't tell, I'm not really a big Julian fan here, but we don't read Flannery O'Connor short stories in order to make new friends. So hopefully everybody is quite aware of that. So after a little bit of fantasizing and some interesting tidbits, there's a counterpart that comes onto the bus at the stop before the Y. There is a lady, a black woman, wearing the exact same hat that Julian's mother is wearing. And he thinks that this is hilarious. He thinks this is going to be a mortifying and humbling lesson for his mother. But she doesn't appear to notice the lesson. And the black woman also comes along with her own son. And Julian's mother makes a very grave mistake there and decides that she wants to offer a penny to the child, the black woman's child there. So after they get off the bus, she offers that penny to the child, and the mother of that child is not at all pleased by this and appears to knock Julian's mother off her feet there, um, thereby confirming Julian's mother's worst fears. And there's a change that comes over Julian's mother at the very beginning of the story. Um, we Julian describes his mother as having very innocent blue eyes, and that her eyes hadn't been updated since the time that she was 10 years old, um, and that was an invitation to contempt among all the other things Julian's mother had done. And now, when he looks into her eyes, they're completely different. He hardly recognizes his mother, and it's very interesting the way that Miss O'Connor wrote this one. Um, uh, um, During the whole of the earlier part of this story, Julian's speaking in icy, formal terms to his mother, and with a great deal of contempt to it. And after she gets hit, she's got this profound change to her affect there. Um, he was looking into a face he had never seen before. "Tell Grandpa to come get me," she said. He stared, stricken. "Tell Caroline to come and get me," she said. And then a tide of darkness seemed to be sweeping her from him. "Mother," he cried, "darling, sweetheart, wait." Crumbling, she fell to the pavement. He dashed forward and fell at her side, crying, "Mama, Mama!" He turned her over. Her face was fiercely distorted. One eye, large and staring, moved slightly to the left as if it had become unmoored. The other remained fixed on him, raked his face again, found nothing, and closed. Wait here," he cried, and jumped up and began to run for help toward a cluster of lights he saw in the distance ahead of him. "Help, help," he shouted, but his voice was thin, scarcely a thread of sound. The lights drifted further away the faster he ran, and his feet moved numbly as if they carried him nowhere. The tide of darkness seemed to sweep him back to her, postponing from moment to moment his entry into a world of guilt and sorrow there. And so this whole time, Julian's been hoping that his mother would learn a lesson about the way things are now, about the way things are going to be, and smugly waiting for that moment to happen. And then all of a sudden, it does happen, and her eyes are opened to the way that things are now, and she's utterly disoriented. She doesn't recognize him. She doesn't remember where she is. You might look at this and say that this is the symptoms of a concussion, and that's happening, but more than one thing can happen at a time. And she no longer recognizes the world that she's in. She's reverted to an earlier state. And all of a sudden, getting everything that he wants doesn't seem to be so good to him anymore. He realizes perhaps he's having a moment of conversion here where he understands that he needs to change his behavior, step it up, and go there. So perhaps some of you listening have read along. I can see what you're posting in the comment section. So if there's anything you'd like to highlight, we can certainly do so. I'm not accustomed to running a book club as a one-man show, but we're just we're going to play the cards that were dealt here, and I'll go ahead and say what I'm thinking, and you can tell me if you think I'm full of it or not. But the 50s and the 60s represented a big change in the way that things were working in the South. The old hierarchies, which certainly had their flaws, and I'm not going to sit here and defend them as idyllic, those were no longer functioning. And in that sort of a situation, it's hard to actually know where you are to stand. Now, Julian, at least initially, he feels like he's on the side of progress, that he's on the side of change. And that was, as far as I can tell, ultimately what ended up winning the day there. But, to imagine that everything that's rising, converging, just being a bunch of sunshine and rainbows, just being people holding hands together and saying kumbaya, as if the creation of a whole world and a whole new world order is not going to be marked by fear, suspicion, misunderstandings, a little bit of violence here and there. That's a little bit naive. Perhaps a new world is worth it, but the birth of a new world is always going to be a painful thing, because that's just what human births are like. You bring forth a new world in travail and suffering. And I have a very limited capacity to speak to myself. I don't find speaking into a camera to be the most engaging or natural thing to me. So if I don't get a little bit of feedback here soon, then this will be all of the book club that I can manage. But remember, we do communicate via the Discord for this book club, and the StreamYard links are found the uh, in the reading and meeting room. But yeah, this one, a bit surprising that we weren't able to get anybody else on here. But hopefully, our little brief discussion of this story will be useful to you. Maybe there was something that you noticed that you didn't before. Good afternoon, and God bless you all.